advancement of Chicanos and Native Americans in science. SACNAS embraces science, culture, and community. And it's clear to me that we are all here because we value the practice of science and an inclusive culture that best benefits all of our communities. On a very personal level, I came to value the practice of science and critical thinking early in life. While at the time I thought it was just common sense, I now want to share one of my childhood experiences. This experience solidified for me the importance of data and critical thinking to make the changes necessary to benefit all humanity through the practice of inclusive science. I was born in Sacramento, the capital of this beautiful and courageous state. It was 1968 or 69. I was either in kindergarten or in preschool. I'm not sure which, because my mother is a Mexican immigrant who came to this country with 2 months of a second grade education and very limited understanding of the educational system in the United States. Consequently, she enrolled me in kindergarten before preschool, something I just learned about in the last few years, which explains a little bit of my confusion in the timeline of the events. However, I'm not confused about my memory of a transformative event wherein I learned firsthand how critical analysis of data and challenging status quo thinking can bring about the change for greater good. Woo! I was 4 or 5 years old. It was a hot day in Sacramento, California, and I was on the playground with my classmates. I remember being very proud to be in school, despite the fact that, unlike others who wore cute outfits from JCPenney, I wore a homemade dress that my mother had made. Like many other things, my mother is highly resourceful, and she had taught herself to make her own patterns and sew. And she was always on the lookout for quality fabrics at the best price. In fact, I was wearing a yellow plaid dress with brown and green stripes made of very sturdy fabric and a faux fur collar. My mother had designed the dress using the remnants she found in the clearance pile at Hancock Fabrics. While I may have preferred a dress of another color and without the fur collar, it really didn't matter because I was in school and I was learning. I already spoke Spanish and I was learning English. I was also learning to read, and this made me very happy. It also made my parents very proud. In fact, when family came to our house, my parents would have me read aloud in Spanish and in English. It was these thoughts of pride and feelings of becoming a stronger part of my parents' new country that occupied my thoughts that day on the playground when a classmate interrupted them to say, "It's too bad you speak 2 languages. It makes you so dumb." For a millisecond, I felt the same shame that my yellow plaid dress with faux fur collar caused me. But in the next millisecond, I thought, wait, 2 is bigger than 1. Maybe I'm not the dumb one. Science would later prove me right. In particular, an analysis of results obtained through the practice of cultural linguistics led to a 2012 headline in the New York Times that read, "Why Bilinguals Are Smarter." More recently, last year's blockbuster, Arrival, showed that knowing 2 languages means you can know the world in at least 2 different ways. I also realized that day on the playground that while the collection of data is important, it must be analyzed critically. It is only by analyzing evidence critically through the practice of inclusive science that we can make a difference for all our communities. Otherwise, data can be misinterpreted or not collected at all to maintain the status quo. For example, in this beautiful city, many lives were lost when some scientists, community members, and political leaders failed to critically evaluate the data on the biological cause of HIV. Only by coming together have we been able to make progress in this important field of investigation. To similarly make a difference for all of our communities, the practice of science must be inclusive. It must include the perspectives of multiple disciplines and the lived experiences and cultural understandings of our diverse communities to solve the complex problems that confront humanity. The inclusion of multiple perspectives helps to eliminate the inherent bias that creeps in whenever humans take on any activity. It also creates necessary conflict that hones scientific thinking and makes the resulting science smarter. These are the conclusions drawn in a recent Scientific American article entitled, "How Diversity Makes Us Smarter." Its author, Catherine Phillips, reviews the scientific literature and makes the case for the inclusive practice of science. She documents that people who are part of diverse working groups are forced to think more critically and sharpen their arguments. This causes necessary conflicts which are only resolved if individual members of diverse teams are open to listening to each other's scientific arguments. Then progress is made by critically analyzing them through the lens of the scientific method. This practice of inclusive science requires compromise and collaboration. This is often difficult. Nonetheless, it is worth the effort because the faithful practice of inclusive science leads to greater scientific innovation through rigorous application of the scientific method for increased impact that benefits all of our communities. I think that these are the reasons that many of us are marching today. I also think that we know, at some level, that the practice of inclusive science and critical thinking can build bridges between communities for mutual benefit. For example, if I had known to practice inclusion at the time, I might have asked my classmate on the playground to help me improve my English and offered to help her learn Spanish so that we could mutually benefit from greater ways of knowing about our shared world. Similarly, I trust that this March for Science will lead to greater recognition of the need to work not only across scientific silos, but also for those of us who are practicing scientists to work with our communities and political leaders to inform the decisions that affect us all. In my opinion, it is only in the practice of inclusive science that we can gather and critically analyze the data necessary to solve the complex problems that face all of humanity. After all, we're in this together because we share the same Earth. Happy Earth Day.